The views and opinions expressed on this episode of In Tune with T Mill are by the individual host and guest and do not reflect the views and opinions of the Maitland Conservatory or Sunshine Enterprises. In Tune with T Mill is powered by and recorded live at the Maitland Conservatory. The Maitland Conservatory is a community-based contemporary arts and education entity designed to give students hands-on training and experience in areas such as music production, contemporary instrumental training, vocal coaching, leadership, and much more. Call or visit them today at the maitlandconservatory.org. This episode of In Tune with T-Mill is produced by Sunshine Enterprises. For more episodes and behind the scenes, make sure you subscribe, share, and comment wherever you listen to podcasts. Whatever your favorite app is, we're there. Just search In Tune with T-Mill. You can find us on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podomatic. Wherever you listen to podcasts, that's where we're at. Search In Tune with T-Mill. Let's start the show.
Hi, everyone. This is Nykidra Robinson, founder and CEO of Black Girls Vote. That's right, Black Girls Vote. Black Girls Vote is about mobilizing women of color to get more involved in the electoral process, meaning that, yes, Black Girls Vote is a concrete fact. It's our civil duty as well as our call to action, knowing that Black women are loyal voters, but we want to put people in office who are loyal to us. So, yes, make sure you check us out, blackgirlsvote.com, Instagram, Black Girls Vote, Twitter, Facebook, Black Girls Vote, but just know that it's Black women that are changing the world every single day, and we're doing it with our vote. Again, Black Girls Vote, and just know that you are in tune with T-Mill.
T-Mill, come out and play.
Play it loud.
We're changing the status quo one voice at a time through music, edutainment, children, and awareness. We're progressing and preserving the culture through real conversations with people who've had real success. Multicultural artists and musicians, models, entrepreneurs, innovators, and activists. This is Paradox East, and you are in tune with T-Mill. Powered by the maitlandconservatory.org.
Thank you for listening to In Tune with T-Mill.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of In Tune with T-Mill. I'm your host, T-Mill, live from the Rocket City. You will now be encouraged and entertained. Nothing will change until you change something. We are here to change the status quo once again. It's you and I, me and you, your mama and your cousin too. We are going to have a conversation about voting. We're going to have a conversation about letting your voice be heard. We're going to think out loud together. That's what we do here. We don't talk about the problems. We talk about the solutions. You can go to any one of your favorite social media sites or news outlets and you can get the problem, but we want to sit down and talk about the solution. And today's solution we want to talk about is getting out to vote. And not just in this election, in the Alabama special Senate special seat election, but every election, because we all know how it is to go to the party of the year, and it seems like it's becoming the party of the year or the event of the year, but we want to vote in every election. And because I know nothing about elections, I know nothing about voting, all I do is I show up and I vote. I don't know about a lot of the particulars. So I have to call in a professional to help me do this and to help talk to you guys about what's going on. And I actually heard her on one of my favorite podcasts, or heard someone referred to her on one of my favorite podcasts, Miss Angela Rye on one. And I said, you know what? I got to reach out and see if I can bring her on the show and talk to her. And what's so cool about social media is that's all it takes is a polite word, a polite email. And if your vibrations in the world are right, it just might happen. So today I have from blackgirlsvote.com a young woman who has, along with others, started a nonpartisan organization that was established in October of 2015 and designed to represent the concerns and interests of Black women. I have Miss Nykidra Robinson. How you doing?
Hi, Hi, Mel. I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing well, blessed and highly favored. It's a very cool, afternoon here in Alabama. How's the weather out there? Because I know everywhere is going through a lot of different changes this season. How's the weather out where you at?
So I'm in Baltimore, and the weather's it's pretty chilly. We had a lot of not a lot, just some light snow yesterday, but nothing like they got down in Atlanta. But it's starting to get a little colder. The winter's upon us, as I must say.
There you go. All right, and also now in Bmore, now I've got some family out there in the DMV. Have you visited or been to the Dukum restaurant yet?
No, to where?
It's Dukum. It's an Ethiopian restaurant called Dukum.
Oh, yeah, I have. It's in Baltimore. You know what? I know exactly where you are. No, I have not eaten there before, but I've had someone recommend that. So I'm going to have to check it out. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
Now, before we get into the conversation.
I was recommended from female all the way in Alabama. So
absolutely.
I have to come and check it out.
Let me tell you how serious this Dukum restaurant is before we get into this conversation. I will drive from Huntsville, Alabama, to Baltimore to eat at this place. It's a 13-hour drive to Baltimore. But I will, I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to go live so I can show people how serious Dukum is and live stream for 13 hours. That food is amazing. If I can recommend anything, I recommend the Dodo Wat. It is a very nice dish. And when you get there, they're not burning popcorn. It's actually coffee. Because when we were there, I thought they were burning popcorn all night, and it's actually coffee. But anyway, it's a great restaurant. They have live music there. Very great restaurants. So shout out to the Bmore area, the DMV, all my folks up there. And so now, talking about politics and talking about voting, Black Girls Vote. This is, and I say this, okay, so some of the times when you go into a restaurant, or not a restaurant, but you go into a grocery store and you're looking for vegan items, and someone's looking for vegan items, and they say, well, where's the vegan stuff? They have a vegan section for people to find vegan items. So when we title things black or urban or this or that, I think that's the reason, so people can find these items a lot easier, or they can, it'll help them find them. So Black Girls Vote, tell us about where that came from and why it's important to title it that, Black Girls Vote.
Sure. So Black Girls Vote came from, honestly, just a vision that I had. Here in Baltimore, I grew up. I'm not going to say I grew up in politics. I started working in politics at an early age, and I really got in tune in my early 20s, just looking at what was going on politically, but also having to work in local government, seeing that a lot of Black women were the advocates, the ones who are at the community meetings, who are passionate about their community. And as that evolved, having the opportunity to work in an administration, just seeing how politics can change someone's day-to-day life. 2008, I watched the presidential election very closely, again in 2012. But then when you looked and you saw that it was Black women who delivered the presidency of President Obama. In addition to that, we saw that Black women were the largest voting bloc or demographic in 2008 and 2012. And when I saw that, I said, that's deep. And then going into 2016, at the time, even though we lost in 2015, we saw that, hey, gearing up for 2016, this election, presidential, as well as we had local elections here in Baltimore, no one can get in office without the Black woman's vote. It shows that we're loyal voters. It shows that we're loyal voters. So on November 30th, 2015, of course, there's a lot more backstory to how we came into fruition and launched. But on November 30th, the birthday to Shirley Chisholm, we launched Black Girls Vote at Western High School, the oldest female high school in the city of Baltimore. And we said that, Black Girls Vote 3 C's. First C, it's a concrete fact, the Black woman vote. 2, it's a civic duty. We saw our ancestors fighting for our right to vote, but we understand that change can come with vote. And then also, C, a call to action, getting more women involved in the electoral process, but then also including the young generation. A lot of times we don't want to include the young people because we think that they don't know. But what I see day in and day out is that young people are passionate, they're aware, and one thing is they're fearless. and especially young Black girls, not to take anything away from our young Black kings, but I see even on social media, when we talk about what's going on in our community, what's trending, it's often started by a Black woman, right? And then that's how we begin to change the dialogue, change the message, and saying, hey, there's power, but let's channel this and take this energy and engage our community, but get folks out to the polls to vote, and then we can talk about how we change our community from there. And I truly believe voting is the way.
Absolutely.
Part of the solution, not the entire solution. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much part of the solution. And I had a slogan that, because I know we're in the age of hashtags and people like to jump on slogans and things like that as a way to get across their message quickly. And I thought about the fact that, you know, with a lot of the things that are coming out in the news with sexual harassment on a whole other note, and coming out, letting your voice be heard on that. And then I also thought about coming out, letting your voice be heard on voting and politics. And so in my mind, because I'm from the projects, I got to think of things in a certain way that I can understand it, and I think like a 5-year-old. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, I think of the word, or I think of the term silence being suicide. Silence is suicide, in a sense that being silent about something that you went through, or not letting your voice be heard, or just not speaking up at all, is kind of like a slow death to your soul, or to your moral fabric, because you need to get these things out. And the more it's like a sickness, you know, the more you don't speak up, or the more you don't say anything about it, it just does something to your body or your brain or your soul. Am I wrong for that, or is there some type of right to that, you know, by speaking up, and as opposed to being silent?
You know what? I don't think you're wrong. No one's wrong for how they feel. I think a lot of it too is based on the individual, how you feel, how you were raised, your upbringing, and then that comes with time. It comes with the evolution of. A lot of us may be ashamed to speak up. We may not be confident in what we're saying, or our ability to convey our message. So there are a lot of factors that go into that. And what we have to understand is we have to meet people where they are. And even with Black Girls Vote, we said we have to meet people where they are. Because as you just said, I need someone to talk to me like I'm on a 5-year-old level or 5th grade level, whatever that may be. But some people feel that don't dumb me down. Talk to me on a more intellectual, have a more intellectual conversation with me. But regardless of who you are and where you are, we have to meet you where you are and not judge you, because there are certain things that may have happened to you over time throughout your life that has gotten you to the place where you are, or have you feel in a certain type of way. So no, you're not wrong for it. It's who you are, and embodying and embracing who you are. And that's important, because some of us don't know who we are, or willing to say, I need help with this, or I don't understand it. So no, you're definitely not wrong. You should absolutely be commended for it.
All right. And now also with Black Girls Vote, and I want you guys right now to go to blackgirlsvote.com. Go ahead and go there right now, or whatever your favorite social media is. I'm not going to promote any one particular social media, because I know you guys have your favorites, but go to your favorite, the one you spend the most time on. Go there and follow Black Girls Vote. And what are some of the advances that you guys have made so far when it comes to education or economic development in quality healthcare? If you could talk a little bit about just some of the advances that you guys have made so far in those areas.
So for folks who don't know, Black Girls Vote, we are really, really out in the community. We think it's important for us to talk politics, but then not necessarily talk about a candidate that we support, but getting folks engaged in the process, and at first wanting to even register to vote. And being here in the city of Baltimore, as well as the state of Maryland, we were able to register over 11,500 voters early on. So going into the 2016 election, we were registering voters, working with our partners to say, hey, let's get folks on the ground. So for that alone, in the state of Maryland, no one can say they met that number. But then, as also in the organization, we had absolutely no funding. So the funding came from our private dollars, right? Me giving money, people in the organization saying, hey, we're going to mobilize. We're going to get people on the ground, get folks out at different locations, whether we're carpooling, whether we're printing the documentation ourselves. That, to me, was by far our greatest success, getting folks on the ground registered to vote. Also, being at over 200 events, and that comes with a lot of time, energy, and effort. whether it's us going to local events as well as national events. We went to the DNC in 2016. We also went to the RNC, and people thought we were absolutely crazy for going to Ohio with a bunch of Republicans to see, at that time, it was 5 black women walking through with T-shirts that say Black Girls Vote was absolutely, it was one of those experiences you can't explain. You just had to have been there. But then also the National Urban League Convention, things like that, saying, hey, we're here, we want a presence in the community, but know that there's new waves and there's new energy coming in the community. So that also was a success for us. Being able to align with some of our partners here locally, or having the ability to work with organizations who are interested in bringing the Black Girls Vote platform to their organizations, because we understand that it's not just us, an organization in Baltimore, but we're a national organization in which we're hoping to expand to. And one of the things that you said earlier when you introduced us, I wasn't on the Angela Rye show. It was actually Joy Ann Reid. Joy Ann Reid went on the show, and she was our keynote speaker at our Black Girls Vote Ball this November 10th, and she was absolutely amazing. Joy interviewed me over 2 years ago about Black Girls Vote when we had launched, and I was the Foot Soldier of the Week, and she interviewed me, and to have her come back 2 years later as our keynote speaker and just publicize us and talk about the things that we're doing and saying this is a national organization, it should be national, is nothing but a testament of people who believe in us and believe in our vision. So as we're pressing forward every day, just knocking on the ground, just trying to get folks involved in the process, that has been definitely by far, some of those things have been by far the greatest rewards that we've had.
Absolutely.
And accomplishment.
A huge accomplishment, because, again, just like you said, sometimes it takes a lot of, it takes a community, but then there's something magic, or there's something powerful about not only when a lot of men get together from all walks of life and all ethnicities get together to do something, but especially in this climate, the way things have been going for the last 5 to 10 years, there's something about a lot in a group of just black women, black and brown women coming together to create these movements, and we've been seeing that happen over and over. And this is y'all's time. This is, it's been the time. Not that it's just been that time, and there's something about that, what it creates, the power that it gives other girls, what they see, and that gives them an example to say, or gives them permission in a sense to say, hey, I can do this too. I can get with I see people that are doing things that I want to create, or at least it's possible for me to do this. Now with voting, and one thing I see with with a lot of the news, and one of the things that I can kind of necessarily agree with Trump, and I know that sounds crazy, but one of the things that I can agree with is there's a lot of fake news out here. Now, not when it comes to him, because when it comes to him, it's usually right. That's how we got to gauge this. If it's about him, it's usually right. But everything else seems to be a lot of skewed or just a lot of confusing headlines. But when it comes to trusting a source and credibility, there's a lot of truth lost in context or, leading headlines. So my question is, in a world of headlines and social media news links, who do you trust to deliver your news and information?
I think it's important that we look at various outlets, because you and I had the conversation before it was pre-recorded about the importance of just getting the news out, especially the news to our community, and about talking about the solutions. And we don't have lots of outlets that are committed to telling the truth, and especially the truth of our community. When I say our, I mean African-American community and what's happening. So even now, looking at television and things like that, most of it is controlled by Jewish community, not African-American. So, and as you said with Trump, fake news, it's controlling the narrative. They have the ability to control the narrative. So we have to look at different places and people who are passionate about our community. I look at Joy Reid, who I start out with. She's brilliant. And she knows what's going on in the community. Angela Rye, another young black woman who's out in the community. Here locally, there's a guy in Baltimore by the name of Darren Muhammad. He has Spreaker in the City. So there are a lot of local people who are on the ground telling the stories about things locally, nationally, as well as internationally, news that's happening. But I think more than anything, we have to look at, I look at social media as well. I'm not as active on Twitter as so many folks are, but social media, and then also doing my own research, right? So I'll see something, then I'll go back before. A lot of times people are so quick to repost stories and share things. So before I repost anything, I'm Googling, I'm doing research on it, and I'm looking behind the surface, because it's so quick for someone to post it and things are shared, then we realize, oh, that's not accurate news, right? And I think one of the things that I was most recently talking about with some folks, we look at what's happening in Libya, right, which is unfortunate, the slave trade and things that are happening, and we know that. But then when folks start talking about more and more about it, we start looking at how President Obama said one of the, not going to say biggest mistakes or regrets of his presidency, I'm going to say biggest mistakes was planning for the aftermath of taking down Muammar Gaddafi, right? And so that came with a lot of stuff afterwards, the aftermath of that, and people not saying that, oh, the United States had something to do with this, right? Because we don't look at going back in the history of things, we're looking at what's happening now. But it takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of time and wisdom, and then the dedication to it, to wanting to learn and being enlightened by it. So there are quite a few sources. I'm constantly learning and looking for more information just so that I can become more in tune to what's happening and more aware.
Absolutely.
And what about you? Where do you go, for your sources? Because maybe you have some things that I need to know and we could just learn from each other.
Well, I was going to say, I started with following, again, with Joy Reid, with Angela Rye, some of the commentators from CNN, and also I'm a big advocate of public radio. So places like Democracy Now! Or PBS News, places that deliver, that unbiased opinion, they just deliver the facts and sort of dig into that. So a lot of public radio or NPR, places like that. And then what I do is, again, like I told y'all, I got to do things the simplest way that I can think of them. So once I follow a Democracy Now! Or The Griot or a lot of these commentators, even with social media, once I find one that I can trust or seems to deliver both sides, then I just start following everybody that they follow. And I have to look at it like that.
I do that too.
So it's like I have to.
Like they're getting the facts from somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, let me follow them, and that leads me to others. Well, where that I can find someone that I can not necessarily agree with, but I feel like they're genuine, and I feel like they deliver both sides of the opinion, and it's not just one-sided. And not that I don't look at places like the local news or some of the bigger outlets, but again, I know that it's coming from a marketing place and controlling the narrative, just as you said. So those are some of the places that I look at and to follow people. And like you said, and I want everyone to do this, please, and I have to remind myself to do this as well, and just stop sharing links or stop reading the links and thinking. One thing that I do is I look at where it came from, but just because it's a place that I trust it doesn't mean that I don't need to dig a little bit more into it, because it may be my family or my friends, and when I say family or friends, I mean, a place like The Griot or a place like Democracy Now! Or some of these places. I need to dig into that as well, and not just go for, okay, this is what the headline is, this is what they said it is, that's what it is, and dig more into it, because we also have a responsibility in a sense to educate people in the right way. And I would hope that we can dig more into those details. And now,
do you think a big part of it comes from us wanting to be the first, right, to share the information, or things as we're an instantaneous society, and once news hits, it's like, this is hit, I gotta share it. So before if something happens, whether good or bad, we want to be the first to share it, so it looks as if we are a source of information, and that it didn't take us forever to get it. We're breaking news just like anyone else. But you think that's a part of it as well?
Absolutely.
And I decided, that's what I'm starting to see more and more, right? Because people are constantly coming to you, and if you don't have the team or the staff who are constantly, because news is constant 24/7, who's constantly watching the feeds and what's going on in the news, you're like, hey, once I see it, I got to share it, because I don't have people constantly telling me what's happening 24/7. It's a part of building the platform that we're all striving to do. Yeah, I totally get it, because we do some things we have to say, hey, let's start putting it out there, but making sure as much as we can, following up and doing the research. And there's also a new podcast I just started listening to, two young women from D.C. called the Black Joy Mixtape. And they're pretty good. Very funny. I just heard maybe 3 of their podcasts recently. Someone introduced me. So if you get some time to check them out. They're pretty good. I like them.
And what's that name again?
It's called the Black Joy Mixtape.
I like that. I like that.
Yep.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of that, when you hear the word or the term Black Girl Magic, what does that mean to you? What does, how does that resonate with you or not? What does that mean to you when you hear Black Girl Magic, and why is that so important?
It makes it's one of the things that makes me smile. It makes my heart smile because I know that it's true. It's real, and that Black girls and Black women are magical. And for so long that we haven't been, people have been telling our story for us, or we haven't been looked upon as the queens that we are, or these brilliant beings. And as time comes on, we see that it's Black women who are changing the world every single day, and not, again, to take anything away from our Black men, our kings, but saying that systematically there are a lot of things that have happened to Black men that have taken them out or who have been restricted to their opportunities. So for us as Black women, it's up to us to create opportunities to get those advances, but then also make sure that we're preparing opportunities for our sons, our brothers, our husbands, and our children, and those things that are magical. Let's own who we are. But then also knowing that it's okay to be, to embody your beautiful Black skin, to say that you are beautiful, because what we are seeing on television every day is that we're not seeing the young girls with the natural hairstyles or who are full-figured, or saying that this is what beauty is. So we're taking it upon ourselves to say, no, we are beautiful and we are magical, and we are not dumber than anyone. We are the most creative, the most beautiful things on the face of the earth. But now it's our time to say, hey, we're telling our own story for us, and we are magical. And then and we come from this. It's nothing new. So to me, it's so important that we're continuing to share our story and honor other Black women, and saying that, hey, we're not here to tear each other down, but the moment that we realize collectively that we can change the world and the community, to me, I tell anybody, the way that we're going to save our community, and I say Black community, those who are committed to uplifting the community of African Americans, is through Black women, right? Without a doubt. This is how we change it. But knowing that you're in this sector, right? This is your world. If I am in Black Girls Vote, this is what I do. My job is to get more women out to the polls, involved in the political process. We saw it recently in Atlanta, right? Keisha Bottoms, she only won by less than 800 votes. That's such a small margin. It's crazy, right? But that's saying that people say we have a Black woman mayor by the name of Keisha. That's absolutely amazing. But we can have a Keisha in all major cities across this country. But not only do we put them in office, we need to make sure that Keisha, as well as her administration, her team and policies, are committed to the upliftment of Black women, right? Because if I'm in the political realm, me, Nike, we need someone else. You female, you can be, or whoever, saying, hey, we're going to focus on the economics. We have to have these businesses, right? These businesses that are in place, and that we're creating wealth in our community, because we can't just stop at election and getting people elected. We have to talk about the economics, and that's what it is. It's controlling the money, but then also controlling the opportunities that are available to our Black babies, sons and daughters. So it's all cyclical. So back to Black Girl Magic. We are amazing, and it's Black women that are going to change the world, without a doubt. We are changing the world every single day, and I'm excited.
That's what I'm talking about. And this conversation has me so excited. And I know we're winding down, and we're working on limited time today. So one, I definitely have to ask that I can bring you back on, and we can have a further conversation in a longer time. Because man, I've got so many.
I know, but we have to stop and say, wait, I apologize because of the time zone, right? I'm sitting here at 2:00 my time, Eastern Standard Time. I'm calling, I'm hitting the Google hanger, like, hey, where are you guys? Like, and I'm like, and then you sent the email, and I said, okay, got it. So no, but I'm here, and I'm honored that you would just have me on, and that someone like Joy, again, Joy, another example where she knows her space, and as a woman, with the platform, she shared us, an organization in Baltimore, small organization, and I'm not going to say small anymore, organization who's evolving and who's growing. She didn't have to do that. She took it upon herself to promote us. And even, you and I talking here on this conversation, we're promoting other entities because we have to realize that there's so much out here that it's enough for all of us. But don't be afraid that someone's going to take your spot or your shine. Like, let's promote each other. And then the more and more that happens, and there's a genuine passion and want to see other people win, you're going to win naturally because you're around winners. Winners attract winners. And as a community, we have to figure out who wants to be in this game of winners. And then that's how we uplift our community as a whole.
Absolutely. And I think of the term, and I've got one more question, and I think of the term, or the saying, how it goes, serve the needs of others and all your own needs will be fulfilled, because there's enough money out here. People act like money's, guys realize we print money on paper. The paper ain't going nowhere. And then you got digital money. So there's enough space, there's enough opportunity for everyone to succeed. A quick note in Atlanta with the mayor, with Keisha Bottoms, and noticing that, I wish this would change, because noticing that whenever a candidate loses, they want to revote, they want to recount, all these different things. That's great. Do that, because again, make sure that if you lost, you want to make sure that you lost honestly, or you did indeed lose. I have no problem with that. But what I would like to see is whenever someone loses from a local level to the highest level, if we're teaching our kids to play together, we're telling them, the golden rule. I don't even know if they teach the golden rule no more. Treat others the way you want to be treated. But what I think, in my mind, again, because maybe this is different, but in my mind, if you lose, instead of losing and creating a divide with the person to the person that you were racing against or whatever, get with them, partner up and say, okay, well, look, I lost, but let's figure out how we can work together. And I would love to see more collaboration instead of that division where it's like, oh, I lost. If you're going to serve the people of a city or of a school system or whatever, instead of saying, oh, I lost, I'm not in it, forget about it, I didn't win, it's not me, get with that person and figure out how you guys can work together. Because again, they're going to need your help, you're going to need their help. So I would love to see that in everywhere. When candidates lose, just partner up with each other if your intentions are genuine and if you really do want to serve the people and not your best interest. My last question.
So wait, Jamil. So it's to piggyback on that. So I think that, I hear you, but I think it's also easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Because looking at the race in Atlanta, within 0.1 tenths of the margin, by all rights, does Mary Norwood have the ability to call for a recount? And if it were you would call for a recount too.
Absolutely.
Understanding that the absentee ballots haven't been in, the provisional ballots. So I want to see every single vote that came in. And 700 votes, that's not a lot of votes when you think about it, right?
Right.
That's a high school. One high school here in the city of Atlanta, based on the population, if all the students in this one high school had voted for this one candidate, this could have changed the outcome of the election, right? So in thinking of the grand scheme of things, so by all means, I agree with a recount, right? We just need to make sure that whoever's conducting the recount, that they're being closely monitored and all that stuff, properly vetted and things such of that nature. When it comes to working with the other candidate and supporting them, I think that takes time, because keep in mind, over the last year or so, you have been slinging mud at this person's name. You have been questioning their character. You have said some of the non-nicest things about this person. So for me to say, now that I've lost, okay, let's be friends and let's talk about the betterment of the community, that's a little bit more challenging. And you got to think about egos are involved, right? Egos and pride. And then, it's like, do I trust you, right? Because when you are operating such as a city, such as Atlanta, multi-billion-dollar industry, or something, you want people around you that you can trust and have your best interests at heart. So my first stop, I'm not going to Mary Norwood, right, in this particular case, in her folks. I'm looking at the people who helped me get to the finish line, and I am going to look at you a little side-eyed, because I know genuinely you would rather be in my spot. And so the ones, what's the saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer? I agree, but then you have to keep certain people at a bay. So I hear you, but I do think what Keisha could do, Mayor-elect Keisha Lance Bottoms, is look at some of the policies that Mary Lance said that she was going to introduce, and look at, maybe it wasn't that bad of an idea, and let me look a little bit further into it. But I hear it, and I think we all would like to say that when we're campaigning, that, yeah, we would like to work together, but when the reality hits the road, yeah, I don't know. T-Mill. maybe you should run for office, right? You run for office. When you win, whoever went against you, your opponent, you say, come on, we're going to do this together. You tell me how it goes.
Yeah, most definitely.
I don't know how successful it'll be, but hey, I'm not opposed to it, but I just want to see it work effectively.
Most definitely. All right. Well, you guys, again, we're talking with Nike Robinson about Black Girls Vote, and I want you guys to go to blackgirlsvote.com. info@blackgirlsvote.com is where you can contact them if you have any questions about how you can get involved or how you can, any information. If you just want to, again, share it wherever your favorite social media is, you can find them, reach out, share it. Again, do it like it's, we do these things with clubs, we do these things with churches, we share all this information. That's great, but we need to have that same energy when it comes to politics, whether it's local and national. And again, guys, look, if we take care of local politics, national politics, in a sense, that'll take care of a lot of the things that we see at Capitol Hill. We want to talk and work out the backyard first and take care of home and make sure that we're getting involved in all elections, not just, the ones that are popular or the ones that we see on TV. Now, any shout outs that you want to give out there or anything to let the people know? Any encouragement that you want to leave with the people today? Because we're coming back to you guys. We're going to talk to you guys again. Me and Nike are going to talk to you guys. But for today, anything that you want to leave with the people?
Yeah, I would definitely say we can't ignore the fact that this Tuesday in Alabama, you all have such an amazing race that's going to happen, a U.S. senatorial race in this special election. And I think it's so important for women of color, not just women of color, just people to get out and vote. African Americans, get out to the polls and vote. This election is heavily contested. When some things like sexual assault is one of the major topics of discussion, as African American women, we're more likely to be assaulted, sexually assaulted by the age of 18. But also, we're not talking about those things because of, in our community, some things are taboo. We may feel ashamed to talk about it, but sexual assault is real. We want to make sure that whoever gets in office in any election, in any state, any community, they understand how it impacts women of color, short term and long term. So we want to look at elections. Elections aren't about the people, it's about the policies and the policies that they are willing to commit on behalf of communities. And particularly, I'm talking about our community, the African American community. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say on this Tuesday, December the 12th, get out and vote for a U.S. Senator. You have Roy Moore and Doug Jones in this race, which is going to be watched all across the country. Pay attention, but then also get out to vote. Also, in 2018 alone, it's going to be huge. Midterm elections will be taking place, a lot of gubernatorial elections across the country, and make sure that not only are you voting, but also try to take someone to the polls with you. We have a campaign with Black Girls Vote called She Will Vote, and She Will Vote saying, I am committing, if I am of age, I am committing to voting. But I'm also going to take someone to the polls with me, whether it's a Black man, a husband, a son, or a father. I am committing to that. But also to our young women who are watching, who may not be of age to vote, saying that, hey, I may be 12 years old, I may be 10 years old, I may be 5 years old, but when I am of age, she will vote, and I am she. So let's start having the conversations about voting in our community. But also, it's not just about going to the polls on Election Day, but also understanding that it's bigger than voting on Election Day, because millions and billions of dollars are put into elections for candidates. And it's not just because they like them. They understand that voting and whoever we put in office controls the economics, and the economics in our community are so important. That's the only way that as a community will begin to advance. When we talk about here in Baltimore, where I live, the murder rate, over 320 people have been murdered in our city alone this year, mainly Black men who come from Black women, Black mothers, right? So we're hurting as a community. But a lot of it is tied to, not all of it, it's tied to drugs. Drugs equals money. And I can't tell a man who's trying to feed his family that he can't sell drugs because he doesn't have the education. He can't go out and get a job because systematically the system has failed him. So he's out here trying to survive. And lo and behold, now we're looking at more and more murders that's happening. We can't talk about crime unless we talk about the economy, we can't address it. That's all tied to policy, and politics, and it's all tied to voting. So voting is so much bigger than 1 day or 2 days out of the year, primary, general election, or early voting, saying, I'm going to go vote. Let's talk about collectively as a community how we begin to change the face of our community and the outcomes and the statistics, and it's tied to voting. So just want to say thank you guys for having me, Black Girls Vote. For those who are interested in us coming to your city, we have yet to expand there. Mm-hmm. That's why we're working with people to raise money, because we know that we're going to need at least $1 million to start to expand to some of the cities and states across the country, so that we can bring this message to them and engage in inspiring women to get out and vote. And we know once Black women started, people will follow, because we are magical, as we started talking about earlier. So we're just excited about expanding the brand and expanding the movement. So if you shoot us an email, let us know where you are in what city and where you would like for us to come. Not saying we're able to come tomorrow or next year, but we're starting to put things in place. So don't say, I told them we wanted them here and they're not here yet. Keep in mind, as I said earlier, we're not an organization that has major funding like some of these organizations that have millions and millions of dollars.
Well, we definitely want that to change.
We're excited that people want us. It's going to change.
Absolutely. Just put it into existence. And I'm definitely calling upon my folks and my comrades out at Alabama A&M University and everybody that's in this city to get behind it, make it happen. And if there's any way that I can be of service or to make that happen, I'm definitely going to do that to see you guys come down here. And again, for us to come up there, Baltimore is just down the street. It's just gas money.
That's
Get on the road and make it happen.
We have a Baltimore chapter, Alabama chapter, and we're just here changing the world. That's what we're here to do.
There you go. Just tell them Beyonce throwing a free concert, and everybody will show up. So they might be a little upset when they get there, but they'll get there. That's all you got to do.
No, that's so funny.
So, again, thank you, Nike and Black Girls Vote and Nike Robinson, because I don't want everybody to be thinking, yo, Nike got Black Girls voting. Nah, we talk about Nike Robinson.
That's so funny. I get it all the time. My full name is Nykidra. People call me Nike. But, yeah, it's like Nike. Wait, is Nike sponsoring you all too? I'm like, no, my name's Nike. I get it all the time. So thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely. And again, we will have another conversation with Black Girls Vote and to extend, because every time we get through this conversation, I've got about 40 questions that I didn't ask, and I thought about them during the interview. So
oh my God.
We're going to.
It's going to be real quick.
Absolutely. But thank you.
So funny.
And make sure you guys are following them. I wish you nothing but the best. And again, thank you guys for what you're doing, and everyone that's behind and standing with you guys, because everyone counts. And I know a lot of times we see the faces, we see the people that are up front, but we forget about the people that are supporting them. And so to everyone that's supported you guys and that is with you guys, thank you to y'all as well, because it does take a team. So thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for, creating a platform for people like us to share our story. I think oftentimes people like yourselves and other people in media, we get overlooked, or you get overlooked because you aren't on these big television screens all the time or public radio consistently, and people don't understand that you're taking a lot of your own time, commitment, and passion to get the story out of people like myself. And that goes back to, as a community, we have to work together and in partnership to help uplift each other. So to all the people that know me, I'll be sharing this podcast and have them, listen to T. Mill and the great things you guys are doing in Alabama. It really is a community effort. So thank you.